46 years ago, in December of 1978, a truly horrific discovery was made in John Wayne Gacy's basement. Dozens of buried bodies. A short time later, he was indicted in Cook County and charged with the murder of 7 young men, ultimately to be found guilty in the killings of 33. Gacy was sentenced to death and executed in 1994, but the memory of those terrible crimes never left the minds of Americans, especially Chicagoans, and more so the residents of Norwood Park, where Gacy committed most of those acts. Interest in true crime has surged in popularity, with serial killer tours seemingly popping up wherever one occurred. Well, Chicago's no different. 2 local historians and tour guides started their own to share the history and remember Gacy's victims. Joining me now is Tony Szabelski. Tony, thank you so much for being with me this morning. You know, we were just chatting right before we were, chatting here, and I told you I actually remember the spotlights from the excavation process being, illuminating that area when I was driving to my grandma's house, and it was haunting. It was haunting. I mean, what do you remember when I know you were a kid, thinking back on that day?
Well, thanks, Dana, for having me on. Yes, I remember quite a bit. By the time that all happened, I was living in, the Belmont-Cragen area,
oh, yeah.
So not too far.
Right.
And, yes, I remember seeing on the news almost every night the spotlight as they were digging up more and more remains, and how it just kind of shocked not only the city of Chicago, but pretty much the whole nation.
Absolutely. No one had really ever seen anything like that before, and it was hard to wrap your mind around. So there's this tour. There are still a lot of relatives of Gacy's victims that are still alive. So what locations do you visit, and how do you handle what is still really a sensitive nature about, this horrific case?
Well, the locations we visit would definitely be the site where his house was on Summerdale Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to go to the site where he was arrested on Milwaukee and Devon. We're going to go to the graves of some of his victims that are still buried in the area, St. Adelbert Cemetery and Mary Hill Cemetery, where his parents are buried. We're going to also go to his mother's apartment building, where he was seen digging one night, like in the middle of the night, and the police station which he was interrogated in Niles. The pharmacy where his last known victim, Robert Peast, was working, that he had picked up, and a few other stops. And yeah, along with the sensitive nature, I totally understand that. And this tour was never designed to immortalize Gacy in any way. It's more to remember the victims and to kind of tell the story of a piece of Chicago history. Whether it's a dark piece of Chicago history, it's still a piece of Chicago history.
We have to let you go right now because we have a on-TV cut-in, but I really appreciate it, and I'm sure it is very interesting, and yes, it is a part of Chicago history. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Daytime tickets are $50 if interested. Nighttime ones for $65. If you want to hop on the bus, that's how the tour is conducted. You can go to the Killer Clown Tour page on Facebook.